Hey, friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to Wrestle Juice. So it's WrestleMania season, and it's time to look at your hot takes leading into the grandest stage of them all, the show of shows. And that's what they call it, the show of shows. They don't really call it that, do they? I don't know. Anyways, we're going to dive into your hot takes leading into Mania. Let's go ahead and dive into it. We got a bunch of content coming up this week, but first we're going to start out with the hot takes, because we usually do. King Pertov says, hot take, Jade Cargill's presentation and all-around aura in WWE is better than, is greater than, Mercedes Show Me the Monday presentation and aura in AEW. Man, you guys are trying to get me in hot water immediately off the bat. All right, so I'm going to try to take a non-cynical approach to this, because I've seen this a lot on the Twitter where people, there's even that like sort of meme thing where it's like Jade Cargill and then the greater than and then the Mercedes Mone thing, right? I'll try not to take the cynical approach to this. I'm not trying to bash anybody. I'm not trying to bash AEW around here. Come on, that's so 2023. It's 2024. I've been appreciating what AEW's been doing lately. So I'll take this from a non-cynical standpoint, okay? What are people talking about here, right? They're talking about two high-profile signings for either company making their return or debut, I guess a debut in the company for both of these individuals, for both of these performers, and they're crossing companies. So you got, and they're both very prominent women's wrestlers over the past couple of years. So you got Jade Cargill coming from AEW over WWE, and then you got Mercedes Mone, formerly Sasha Banks, coming over from WWE to AEW. She made a pit stop there in New Japan, but eventually she found her way in AEW, the two biggest companies in America, and they're making their debuts in these companies around the same time. In my opinion, number one, they're two very, very different characters. Mercedes Mone, obviously, she's been around for a long time. She's the boss. She's the CEO. And I know that because she's got that theme song that just reiterates that chant over and over again. So she's been there. She's done it. She owns it all. She can outclass you and out-savvy you in the ring in any way, shape, or form. Jade Cargill is a superhero, right? She's like a cross between Wonder Woman and like She-Hulk. She can get in that ring and dominate through sheer strength, right? But she hasn't been around that long, and so she's still a little bit on the green side. That's not a She-Hulk reference. So experience-wise, she's not quite there with Mercedes Mone. So two very, very different individuals, right? But I understand they're both prominent women's wrestlers making their debuts, crossing companies, and that's what you're referring to here. So here's the deal. WWE has kind of always had the market on presentation, on making people feel bigger than where they were. They just know how to do it. I don't even know how necessarily. Think about this. Back when, and I've seen this put out there a lot, but back when Chris Jericho made his WWE debut in 1999, there was just something about him. The way he was lit, the song they gave him, the spotlight they put on him. He used, an extra deep tanner. I don't know. He was in the tanning bed a little bit longer. He just looked a little bit more Hollywood. He has that shiny shirt on. In AEW, that's not their strong suit. They've got other strong suits. They do other things, I think, better than WWE. As Tony Khan on Twitter said, the best wrestle here, right? The wrestling in AEW is sort of the thing, right? I saw a Twitter stat the other day. It said like 59% of AEW's TV time is spent with actual wrestling, whereas WWE's programming is generally around like 25%, which sounds about right. To me, pro wrestling is not all about wrestling. I want to know what percentage is in really good promos. What percentage is in, hot takes from CM Punk hitting at Drew McIntyre. You know what I mean? Like, there's a well-rounded product there. But getting back to this, AEW's thing simply isn't presentation. Now, if you're to take whenever Mercedes Mone has her first match and rank that against Jade Cargill's participation in her first match, guess what? Mercedes Mone will probably be a bit more impressive. She's got way more experience, and AEW lets these wrestlers wrestle, do what they do best. So there's not one thing that's better than the other. That's not like, this is so much better. But in terms of presentation, yes, WWE has that on lock. They've kind of always had that on lock. I have been able to point out several of the templates that they use in their Videotrons with AEW. And WWE, I feel like they just, look, their Trons aren't great, but like I can't sit there and be like, oh yeah, I saw that on this particular website that offers up video editing templates. And that's a very Steve specific thing because I'm a video editor by trade, so I know these things. But WWE has always had the presentation thing kind of on lock. And now with Kevin Dunn out of the way, it seems like they're amping their game up even more when it comes to their presentation. AEW still has a really terrific pro wrestling show. And I'm really looking forward to whenever Mercedes Mone steps in the ring for the first time in AEW. I don't know why they haven't advertised that particular aspect of things yet. And I don't think it was a particularly great move for them to just move her on commentary last week on, I think, Dynamite. But at the same time, WWE had Jade Cargill just sort of waiting in the wings, popping up backstage here and there for like 7 months or something. And so they were just waiting for her to, I guess, get the proper training in so that when she does make her debut, it will be all that more impressive. So I don't know. Look, I think Mercedes Mone is absolutely terrific. AEW's thing isn't necessarily presentation, though. So like the big debut is really not going to be their strong suit. You guys remember when they debuted Andrade to no theme music and Vicky Guerrero, being his manager at the time? It just wasn't all that great. What is great is when they actually pro wrestle. Will Ospreay, for example, he came out, his debut in AEW technically was just like, hey, listen up, everybody. I can't wrestle here for 3 months. Then he shows up and he wrestles and it's like, oh my God. This is amazing. This is great. So there you go. It's a difference between two companies. And I'm looking forward to seeing Mercedes Mone get that wrestling in. I'm looking forward to Jade Cargill. Boy, what an amazing opening thing for Jade Cargill to do. Come down, just annihilate Damage Control. She's going to be taking part in that big 6-man match. And I have no doubt that match is basically going to be designed to make Jade Cargill look like $1 million. And she's in there with some awesome wrestlers. That image of her and Bianca and Naomi all pointing this. Oh my God. You can't see him, but I got goosebumps underneath there, under the old hoodie. Anyways, let's dive into another hot take now that I've spent 8 minutes of my time talking here. Braden Loader says wrestling on TV always looked better pre-HD. The fuck? What? No, it didn't. Braden, I'm assuming you're probably like my age or older, maybe because you remember what TV was like pre-HD. We've got this sort of image in our heads of what it looked like in standard def. The sets did look better because you couldn't really see that they were just cheap ass sets. Well, actually, it's not even true. WrestleMania, their sets are amazing these days. But like the giant fist in HD, I don't know that would look all that great. I just don't. But yeah, man, I don't know. I've watched plenty of standard def wrestling, both in my past and these days on YouTube. And I don't know. There's no difference in terms of to me, there's no difference in how the actual wrestling looks. It's just you could see them better. And I prefer to see things better than not. So I don't know. Maybe you've got some clarification. 8 people thumbs up this thing. Well, I'm one of them. So 7. I just wanted to mark one of the hot takes that I'm going to read. 7 people thumbs up. So I don't need, there's a bunch of old bastards out there who just are like, I miss the old days when TV looked like this thing back there. Trust me. It wasn't better. If you have 2 options, if you pluck a person at a time, be like, hey, you want to watch it like this? You want to watch it like this? HD. So I had 2 of these ones that are very similar. South Park fan 209, and then I think it was Blake Whitehouse maybe. Later on says, people remember WrestleMania 17 so fondly because it was the only Mania in the Attitude Era that didn't suck. Let me see if I can find Blake, the other one here about that one. Let's see if I can find it. WrestleMania. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, wow. Lord Blake Whitehouse actually says WrestleMania 17 is incredibly overhyped from the Attitude Era fan nostalgia. These are 2 different takes. Never mind. Okay, so these are 2 completely different takes. One person says that people remember it really fondly. Another person said it was overrated. I'll be honest with you. I was a bigger fan of 18 because that's when they really started doing what seemed like a WCW invasion. You had Steve Austin versus Scott Hall and the whole NWO. You had Rock versus Hogan. Sure, there was other stuff. I think that was when Triple H versus Chris Jericho. Triple H's first Mania back. That was pretty cool. But yeah, 17. I don't know. I never got the hype behind it. Maybe I'll have to rewatch it. The only Mania in the Attitude Era that didn't suck. The Manias in the Attitude Era were not really all that great. I'll definitely agree with that. I'll be honest with you. Like, WrestleMania in general has got a really, really spotty track record. Like, I could probably count on one hand the ones that are actually really, really good. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's just sort of what my gut tells me right now. The anime fans continuing on with some WrestleMania hot takes says the Ruthless Aggression era has more memorable Mania matches than the Attitude Era. I agree with that totally. I absolutely agree with that. You look at WrestleMania, 19, where you rock Stone Cold. That's a really good match. And then on that same card, you had, Brock versus Kurt Angle. At WrestleMania 20, I think it was, you had the Benoit Triple Threat, which is a really good match. At 21, you had like Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels. Yeah. Yeah, WrestleMania and the Ruthless Aggression. Ruthless Aggression era had just better wrestling than the Attitude Era. That's a fact, dude. Basie Boy says Mick Foley is the single most important person in wrestling history. Wow, that is a hot take. Helped transition into and throughout the Attitude Era, helped transition into Ruthless Aggression and maintain as GM. Also, happy fuck Hulk Hogan Day. Wow. Yeah, this is definitely a hot take. I don't know about this one. Transition into and throughout the Attitude Era? Like from what? Whatever came before the Attitude Era, the next generation, new era, whatever it was, new generation. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I love Foley. I love Mick Foley. I think that a case could be made that he is one of the more important people to look, everybody loves Foley. Don't get me wrong. I'm trying to think of the singular thing he did though. Like the singular thing. Like he pioneered writing books in wrestling. Because after him, everybody had an autobiography. Have a Nice Day is an awesome book. And that alone is great. Foley was awesome. He was he was one of them dudes who didn't need to be like a character. He could just sort of be himself and people would love that guy. He is a savvy, smart guy. And I love Mick Foley. But the single most important person in wrestling history, I don't know about that. I mean, sadly, that's probably Vince McMahon, to be completely honest with you. In wrestling history, I don't know, you probably go back to the 20s when the Gold Dust Trio just made wrestling fake. They were like, wrestling's boring. We're just going to make it fake now. And then they did that and it was kind of awesome. So Jason Sear White says the Trick Williams Carmelo Hayes feud is the best thing heading to WrestleMania and makes the case of one of the greatest NXT feuds of all time. A lot of you agreed with this. I'll have to go back and watch the video. Apparently they did a really good video. I don't watch NXT. I know, guys, I probably should. I do the wrestling thing for a living. Should I start watching NXT? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that. But maybe, hey, look, if WWE has an extensive, what is it called? The Prime Target or something like that? Maybe if they do a Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes one, I'll watch it. All right? I'll get hyped for that. I love both those guys. I think it's great. I just don't watch NXT. Mikhail says Money in the Bank is a better fit for WrestleMania than its own pay-per-view. No. Stop saying this. No. Awful take. Bad take. Hot take. Not good. No. Money in the Bank is a great pay-per-view. You get cash-ins ideally, and it's the Money in the Bank is its own big thing. It's like the Royal Rumble at this point. You got both the men's and the women's. It's awesome, and then somebody can cash in at WrestleMania. No. Stop saying that. WrestleMania is not a better fit for Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank needs to be its own thing. Let's stop discussing this. Last time ever going to entertain that hot take. Thank you, Mikhail, though. I appreciate it. Hut Rod says, yeah, LA Knight, should lose to AJ Styles at WrestleMania. AJ needs the win to solidify his heel turn. No. AJ Styles is a bad guy. Is boring. He needs to go back to being just regular AJ Styles. He was awesome. He's just himself. He's a phenomenal wrestler, so to speak. And LA Knight needs this win. He needs to win, and then AJ needs to be like, oh, man, I don't like being a bad guy anymore. I want to be a good guy now. John Murphy says it is truly astonishing the impact Jim Johnston has had on the history of pro wrestling, and exceeds wrestling's boundaries with how general society knows how much of his music. He's often underappreciated for his impact. He is great. He should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Triple H should get right on that. Nathan Spencer says, if it wasn't for Retribution, Dijak would be a solid upper mid-card on the main roster by now. I disagree with this. You know why? Because he's got kind of a comedic thing going for him that I feel like Vince McMahon would have run into the ground. I think he would have put Dijak in some sort of cringy, awful comedic thing. It would have been terrible, and we wouldn't have been able to see all these awesome matches he's putting on in NXT. I love Dijak. I think he's great. I don't know what you're going to do with him on main roster because he's a weird character. I don't know what this 80s vigilante type guy is. It's very confusing to me, but he's a phenomenal wrestler, and I hope when he goes to main roster, they'll make really good use of him. But yeah, no, I think that if he got called up, like if he got called up when Retribution started instead of Retribution, Vince would have buried him. He'd be in AEW by now. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Tomorrow we got an Ask, or tomorrow, 2 days from now, I don't know. We got more WrestleMania content coming up over the week. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. We'll see you guys around.